Hello and welcome to Beachview, our podcast about different things.
Hey, today we have a special guest with us, our sister, Bree.
Hi.
Hey, Bree, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course.
So, we've tried to do this for about a month now, but we've always had issues.
That's an understatement. We have issues.
And today we're talking about Spirited Away, which is a 2001 Japanese animated film made by Studio Ghibli, directed by Hayao Miyazaki. And yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah.
2003?
Wow.
2001.
2001.
Oh.
Yeah. And Studio Ghibli's famous for their animated movies. You know, if you're a film buff or an anime nerd or something like that, you'll almost certainly have watched one of them or multiple of them. And I thought we should take a look at one for the podcast. So what'd y'all think?
I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought it was funny because we tried to watch it like all together with a bunch of people. And a lot of them were like, what is this? Why are we watching this?
Yeah,
like, put something else on. And we were like, no, this is good.
They thought it was really weird and, did not like it at all.
It is a bit weird.
I mean, it's a little weird, but some of them were like, what is the point of this? Like, it has no point.
I
mean, they
like,
weren't paying attention.
But
yeah.
it's kind of weird because, it's a mixture of things that, you would never think would be, together in a movie, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes.
What things?
That's true.
It's, the whole, it was this, I don't know how to explain it. What was...
I guess, it's like fantasy, sci-fi,
what sci-fi?
Spiritual, I guess sci-fi, I guess that's fantasy.
And then the way there's just a random baby and they're
yeah.
Stuff like that and the way they see spirits.
Well, I mean, when you say sci-fi, it's kind of how how they go into a different kind of time, a different universe kind of thing.
I would call that fantasy. Unless you want to call Alice in Wonderland sci-fi, which there are arguments in genre spaces of the actual difference between these two genres that I don't want to get into.
Okay,
it wouldn't be dystopian.
Yeah. Okay, fantasy then. Yeah. That's fine. But yeah,
it doesn't matter that much, but yeah.
There's a bunch of different elements, in this story, I guess is what you're trying to say, right, Brie? There's so many different things that, are thrown together kind of thing.
Yeah, that you wouldn't expect to all be thrown together.
Yeah, it was kind of every time they introduced, a new character or, creature or something, I'm like, what? What is this?
I'm sure that probably makes a bit more sense for the, Japanese audience that originally watched it.
Yeah.
Because it is drawing off of, Japanese cultural beliefs about spirits.
Yeah, definitely. But I thought that was cool. I thought it was interesting to have, all those different elements together. And as the story unfolds, you're kind of getting more and more into that world. That is cool.
I thought the concept was really cool too, about how it's an underworld, or it's a world for spirits to go, eat and in a spa and no humans are in it. I thought that part of it was the whole. Well, that's basically the whole thing, but the concept of it was cool.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So, should I get into the plot synopsis then?
Yeah,
go for it.
All right, so. Hopefully this isn't too long. We start with our protagonist, Chihiro, and her parents. Chihiro's a young girl, and they're in a car, and they're driving to their new house. They're moving, and Chihiro's apprehensive about that. She's gonna have to start a new school. She doesn't know anybody. It's a big thing on a kid to move. And so they're driving to their new house, and they take a detour, because apparently that's something the dad does. And so they go through this whole detour, and they end up in the woods, and they end up near this weird shrine-looking place. And they realize that, oh, this isn't like an actual shrine, it's not that old. And they decide to go through into the shrine, despite Chihiro's protest. She doesn't want to do it. So they do that, and they get there, and they think it's a abandoned theme park. That this used to be a theme park, but they didn't finish it. And so they're exploring it, and they find this food that is apparently very tasty, and they eat it. And Chihiro's like, no, I don't want to eat it, I don't want to be here. And, worried that it's someone else's, but they decide to eat it anyways. And so Chihiro decides to go off and wander around, and eventually she comes up to this place and meets a guy, and the guy's like, you can't be here, you need to go somewhere else before sundown. And so she tries to run off, and she looks for her parents, and they've turned into pigs from eating all this food that's not meant for them. And so she goes to run back to their car, and turns out this isn't an abandoned amusement park at all. This is a world for spirits, and at night it fully, morphs into the spirit world. And the way she came across is now a giant river that she can't get into. And so now she's trapped in the world of spirits, and she's not supposed to be here. Humans aren't allowed. And the guy we saw from before is named Haku, or Master Haku. He comes and finds her, and he feeds her a thing that she needs to stay in the spirit world. And, she's very scared, and they, go through, and he's like, okay, you can't be found, so we need to, try to sneak you in. So if you hold your breath across this bridge, they won't be able to see. So she does that, and they try to get in, but then a frog guy comes up and interrupts them, and she ends up breathing, and they notice, so they have to run away and hide. And everybody's panicking because they saw a human, and he's like, Haku's like, okay, well, I'm gonna hide you, and people are looking for him, so he's like, okay, so you're gonna have to go on your own, you're gonna have to go to the bottom of the boiler, and meet the, boiler man, and you're gonna have to ask him to give you a job, because you can't stay in the spirit world without having a job. As a human or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a little sketch.
So she gets all scared and is slowly trying to climb down to get to the bottom of this structure, which is a spa. I don't know if that's been mentioned yet, but it's like a, resort place for the spirits to come relax and take a bath, a warm bath and
like
whatnot.
a bathhouse.
Yeah. And so she's slowly creeping down these stairs, and then one of them breaks, they're wooden, and she runs all the way down, and then is slowly, apprehensively going through and eventually coming up to the boiler room. And she gets in there and she meets the guy she's supposed to meet, who's Kamaji, and he's like a little spider-looking guy, and he's operating the boilers, and he's got these little soot balls that are carrying coal to fuel the boiler room.
Is that what that is? I thought they were spiders.
No, they were soot. He says it.
I don't remember.
Yeah, they're soot that's been, like a soot spirit that's been animated to do the job of the boiler room.
Got it.
And so Chihiro's like, I need a job, that's what Master Haku told me, so I can stay here. And he's like, I don't have one for you, all the work's taken. And so she's sitting there insisting and everything, and eventually she moves over. The little soot balls are kind of bothering her, and one of them drops the coal on top of itself and squishes it, and she's all worried, so she's like, okay, I guess I'll pick it up. And she does. And then he's like, okay, well, finish what you've started, human. Kamaji is. So she has to take it over, lug it over to the boiler, and she throws it in. And then someone comes down named Lin, delivering food and stuff to Kamaji and the little soot balls. And then she notices Chihiro, and then Kamaji's like, you need to take her up to get her a job. And she's like, okay. Well, no, at first she protests, and he's like, I'll give you this fried newt, which apparently is a delicacy.
Yeah.
So she accepts to take her up for this fried newt, and they're, like, walking around. She's trying to keep a low profile, and they're going up this, like, elaborate, like, elevator system as they're going through. And eventually they meet up with the radish spirit, who's kind of annoying, I guess.
Yeah.
And really big.
It doesn't talk.
Yeah, and so he gets on the elevator with them, and then she has to leave her because some guy smelled the human, and then she has to distract him with the newt, and she eventually eats the newt. But she's on her own now, and she's got to find a way all the way up to the top, because she's supposed to meet Yubaba now, who's the witch that runs the whole bathhouse. So she's got to go up there, and she eventually does that, and then Yubaba's very menacing, very scary.
Very weird. Yeah.
She doesn't like Chihiro, and she's like, Chihiro asks for a job, and she's like, no, that's not for humans, and then zips her mouth up, which is a bit weird. But she keeps insisting, and then eventually she wakes up the baby by accident.
Yeah.
So there's like a giant baby. There's a giant baby. So
Yes.
like everything is just like a different size. Like,
Yeah,
it's
like
just total
Yubaba's
fantasy
head
world.
is just huge.
Yeah, Yubaba's mostly head.
Yeah. Giant baby.
Yeah, and you have these, like, weird little 3 head guys. They're just a head, and they bounce around and make noises as they do it.
Yeah.
They're menacing her as well as Yubaba, but yeah, the baby wakes up, and, she doesn't want the baby to wake up, so she's like, okay, if you, I'll give you a job if you stop screaming, so that I can calm the baby down. So she does that, and, like, okay, sign this contract, and she does that, and then, as a result of this, Yubaba steals her name. She takes 3 of the 4 characters from her name, and her name's now Sin instead of Chihiro. And now she's gotta go, like, back down because she signed this contract and work in the bathhouse. And they argue for a bit over who's gonna, like, take her, and she ends up going back with Lin. And Lin, like, takes her back to the room, and then she's all sad, Chihiro is. And then starting the next day, they get to work, and she's doing her work and stuff. And, oh god. What happens next?
Doesn't the stinky dude?
No, so she sees No Face, who's a little spirit guy who's just been kind of hanging around in the background so far, and she sees No Face outside, and she opens the window to let him in. No Face is a little, like, he looks kind of like a traditional, like, ghost, like a sheet draped over something, like a black sheet draped over something, and he's got this mask on, and he kind of, like, makes weird little noises, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, she lets him in, and then gets called off to do something else, and so they've got, the big tub duty today, so she's got to do that, and so they, like, this is all gunky, we've got to go get the special soap, so she has to go back out to the front desk to go to the little, like, guy who, they have this, like, system where, they have these little, like, wooden,
like,
cards, I guess, these, like, wooden blocks
Yeah.
that have, like, language on them to indicate, like, what sort of, like, thing you should give to them, and they have this whole, like, pulley system that you attach the little wooden blocks to, and then, like, it goes up to, I guess, whoever doles out the specialty soaps and herbs and whatnot. And so she's got to get one, and the guy won't let her get one, but then No Face comes up and gives her one. And so she's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go downstairs and I've got this thing now. So, they do that, and then, they've got the bath, the big tub set up, and then a stench spirit comes. And nobody wants the stench spirit to come in because it smells bad, but the stench spirit wants to take a bath, and because, Yubaba's mean, she makes, Sin do the, stench spirit thing. Oh, did I miss? I missed the part where they went to the pig farm and found their parents, and there's like dozens and dozens of pigs.
Wait, did that already happen?
Yes, it
I
did.
don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, they wake up early because the spirits sleep during the day and are active at night. But they get up during the day, her and Haku, and yeah, they go to the farm. And he's like, you need to remember your name. And she does. She almost forgot her name.
Her real name, yeah.
Yeah.
And you need to remember which pigs are
Your parent.
your parents. Because there's dozens of them.
So weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically humans turn into the pigs anytime they reach that
Yeah.
world, I guess.
Haku's like, I remember your name, but I don't remember mine for some reason. That's like what Yubaba does. She takes your name away from you and your true name and that.
And aren't you, like, supposedly, like, free from her contract if you remember her
Yeah.
name?
Well, I don't know the specifics, but yeah, like, that's part of the thing. Like, when you sign a contract, you are also, like, she steals your name, and that's part of how she traps you there. Anyways, back to the, stench spirit who's coming in, and Chihiro has to work the stench spirit, because Yubaba's mean and makes her do it. So they, and they make a whole big deal about how, rancid the stench spirit is, just like getting dirty water everywhere, and it smells really bad, and nobody wants to be around it. So they make her go do it, and she takes him into the big bathhouse, and she's like, okay, and pours a bunch of water on him and pours the good herbs. Oh, I missed the part where No Face comes with a bunch of the,
little
little
things.
wooden, blocks, and wants to hand it to her. She's like, no thanks, I only need one. And he's holding it out, and he gets really sad when she doesn't
Yeah.
take it from him and just kind of drops it there. But then it comes in handy now, where she uses and uses all these herbs to like try to wash it, and ends up going under there, and she notices there's something stuck in the stench spirit. She's like, oh, I think it's got a thorn or something, so it's actually an old bike. And she goes to pull it out, and then there's this whole scene where everybody in the bathhouse pulls out the bike, and it's a whole chain of just garbage. And so they pull it out, and it cleans the stench spirit, which wasn't actually a stench spirit, it was a river spirit. And
that was polluted, and then they got all the pollution out.
Yes, yeah.
Like a
Oh,
stinkity
it's back to
skinny
its normal
old
form.
Thing.
And this river spirit decides to give, as, thanks for helping it, give Chihiro this weird ball thing that we later find out is medicine, but yeah, it gives it that, and everybody else notices there's gold that's been left around, because, it's a river spirit, it has gold in it. So they all go pick up the gold, and then we do a bit of a time skip, and, they're all sleeping again, and No Face is there, and is, like, in the big tub, and a little frog comes by. There's little frog guys, I don't know if I mentioned that, but that's one of the main population of workers in this bathhouse. And a little frog comes by, and, sees No Face and is like, hey, you're not supposed to be in here, but then No Face drops gold and can apparently like duplicate items or something, because he drops these little gold nuggets, which lures the little frog up to it, and No Face eats the frog, which then gets its voice and like gets a little bigger, and another frog comes up and is like, what's happening in here? And he's like, hey, I've got all this gold, I want some food. And then, so they open up the spa again, and they're all like, oh, we need to feed this new customer who has all this gold some food. So they're doing all that, while Chihiro's back at their sleeping place, and wakes up and didn't realize everybody else had already gotten up, and looks out over the railing and sees that Haku, who's also a dragon, forgot to mention that.
Oh, yeah.
We found out he was a dragon
I
from
forgot
the pig farm scene. I'm really bad at these synopses.
It's okay. You're
No,
doing great.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Haku is a dragon and he's flying around and being attacked by these weird paper birds.
Mm-hmm.
It's like little origami paper bird cutouts or something, and they're like viciously attacking him. And then like Chihiro tries to help him out, like signals him over, and he flies in and he's like bleeding everywhere, and she manages to stop the little paper birds. And then he goes up into Yubaba's room. She's like, oh no, he's bleeding out, I gotta go help him. And secretly, one of the little birds attaches onto her and is like, riding on her back. She doesn't notice, so she's trying to go up and get up to the top of the building so she can go help Haku. And while she's doing that, she runs into everybody who is, all feeding No Face because he's just throwing out a ton of gold. And then she goes up there and No Face sees her, and he, I guess, wants to thank her for letting him in earlier. He's like, here, take all this gold. And she's like, sorry, but I'm busy right now. I gotta go save Haku. And he gets very mad at that. And he decides to eat 2 more people.
Yeah.
And chase her. Like, gets mad, tries to, so she runs off and ends up going up to the top. And Yubaba comes in, so she has to try to hide. And she ends up hiding in the baby's room. And so, when she's trying to leave the baby's room to tend to Haku, the baby wakes up and gets mad and tries to attack her, but then she ends up back out in the main room with the baby getting mad at her, as well as the little heads and the bird thing. There's a little bird thing that's like a crow or something that follows Yubaba around. And then suddenly the paper bird that was attached to her turns into Yubaba's twin sister, who is there because Haku stole her magic something or another and was planning on
her
using
stamp.
it. Yes.
Like her seal, yeah.
Yeah, and so she's like that, and then the baby and whatnot are being grumpy, and she decides to turn him into a mouse using magic, and then turns the little crow thing into a tiny little, bug or something.
Yeah.
And then turns the 3 heads into the baby.
Yeah.
And so, she's about to finish the job on Haku when he stops her, it breaks the paper bird, which disappears her, and then falls down this hole all the way back down to the boiler room. And he does that, and he's like, oh no, what are we gonna do? And then she takes the medicine she has, and she's like, I was gonna save this for my parents, but you need it. So she splits it in half and ends up giving it to him. And he throws up the little stamp as well as a little slug thing that she then kills. Because it's like Kamaji, the little boiler room spider guy, he's like, oh, that's bad, you gotta kill that. So she does that, and then she's like, why isn't he feeling any better? And he's like, oh, well, Yubaba's twin sister, whose name I don't remember, but I don't think it's very important, cursed it, so anybody who steals it will die.
Zeniba. Isn't that it?
Yeah, okay. Something like that, yeah.
Zeniba. Something like that, yeah.
And he's gonna die, and she's like, well, what if I go return it to her? Return his seal, that way she can undo the curse. It's like, okay, well, you can do that, but the only way to get there is through the train, and you can't get back after that. She's like, well, okay, I guess I'll take the train there, and then walk back. And he's like, okay, well, here's some train tickets.
Like that he's been keeping for 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, that's actually a thing. Lynn's come down and is talking during this part. Earlier she had said, she wanted to take the train and go, leave the bathhouse that she's been impressed into service of. So it's a big deal to get these train tickets. So she does that. Oh, yeah, by the way, the train is on water.
It's like a
there's
track
big
on
sea.
water.
Yeah, the tracks are on water. So it's this really, fantastical image. But, so she gets up and is trying to go to the train. But first she has to leave the bathhouse, and on the way, she sees No Face, who's very mad and has been chasing people around looking for Chihiro. and because he wants to thank her or something, like, he wants to see her, and she's like, I can't, I'm busy, but here, have this, and she takes the other half of the medicine and gives it to him, and it makes him start throwing everything up, and he gets
'cause he was
very
really-
upset.
He was very fat.
Oh yeah, he's been getting bigger and, like, more monstrous this whole time as he's been eating things. But this makes him very mad, and so he's chasing her around through the bathhouse. She's got to run, and there's this whole sequence where they finally get out and they get into a boat, and they end up steering the boat across to the train tracks, and she walks to the little platform, and No Face is still following her, but, like, by the time No Face leaves the spa, he's thrown everything up, including the 3 people he ate, or spirits, I guess. And so he's like, wants to go with her, and so she's like, okay, well, he seems to be doing better now that he's thrown everything up, and he's returned to his little original form, where he's much smaller, and so they take the train, and they end up going down to Yubaba's place, which is this little cottage in the woods. And, the baby who's now a mouse and the little bird who's now a fly go with them. So they end up going all the way there, and they meet Zeniba in her little cottage, and she's much nicer in the cottage. She's like, oh yes, I don't like my sister, here, have some tea and some cake. And she's like, well, can you undo the curse? And she's like, what is it? Like, that should have already taken effect by now? Or no, it was undone already?
Yeah.
And the only way to undo it is through the power of love?
Aww.
And also, we find out the little slug she killed was...
Yes, and she's like, oh, I also killed your slug. He's like, that's not my slug, that's my sister's slug. That's how she was controlling Haku.
Oh.
And while we're gone, we cut to Haku talking to Yubaba, and he's like, because she's like, where's my baby? Or no, the baby's the head. She's like, where'd Chihiro go? And she's like, oh, your sister was here. Oh, no. So the baby's there. He goes up and talks to her, and then she realizes the baby wasn't actually the baby, it was the heads. She's like, where'd my baby go? And she's like, oh, it went with Chihiro to your sister's. And he's like, very, Yubaba's very mad. She's like, I'm gonna kill her parents, because they're pigs, she's gonna eat them. He's like, no, I'll make a deal with you, I'll go get them back, but if I do this, you have to, let me and her go free, along with her parents. I don't know, I think he's already free at this point, but he's like,
yeah,
because she killed the slug. But, he's like, yeah, you have to let her and her parents go free. And she's like, fine, but she also has to pass one test. So he does that, and then he goes and flies off to meet her. So back at the cottage, they're like, it's like, oh, you're gonna need these things. So she has them, weave a hairband for her to wear.
Like, she said the hairband, protects her, because it was, threaded, by the love of her friends or something.
Yeah.
To bring back to the
like,
human world.
doing the thread. Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then did she make her anything else? I forget.
No.
I can't remember, but during this time, Chihiro was like, I'm starting to forget, and, she didn't want to forget, because she didn't want to, forget who she was or her parents, and be stuck there forever. And the witch lady, Zeniba, was like, it'll be okay, here, put this hairband on.
Yeah, okay, that's the exciting thing there, yeah, and then so they leave, and No Face decides to stay behind and help out around the house with Zeniba, and then she's walking out, planning on walking the whole way with her and the baby and the little fly, and then, Haku comes as the dragon, in dragon form, and they start going back, and she's like, oh, I remember who you are now. You're the Kohaku River, the spirit of the Kohaku River. And she's like, yeah, I remember, because as a kid, I fell into the river, and then I ended up, saved. I ended up not drowning. She's like, yeah, they, filled it in now, and it's all apartments. And he's like, that's why I couldn't remember my way home. And that's why I got trapped by Yubaba. So, he realizes his name, which means he's good now, good to leave and do what he wants. And so they go back and they have one last test with Yubaba. She has a bunch of pigs out, and she's like, "Which one of these pigs are your parents?" And she's like, "None of them," because it was a trick question. So everybody cheers, or like, "Yay!"
Because everyone likes her now.
Yeah, and so she leaves and goes back with their parents, and they go back, and the car is covered in dust and leaves, and the parents don't know what's going
they're like,
on.
Is this somebody's idea of a joke? Yeah.
But she does, and so she's like, and then they start driving back, and then the last line something like, "I'm sure moving to a new school and house and everything's really scary." And she's like, "I think I can handle it."
Also, did you say how she wasn't allowed to look back?
Oh, right, yeah. She can't look back, and she almost does for a moment, but decides not to.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the very long plot synopsis I just did. Yeah, that ending's sort of the ending of the coming-of-age story of this. She starts in an uncertain place and goes through this whole sort of fantastical world and ends up ready to face what's in front of her in life now.
Yeah, it's you watch her development go through, and I felt like No Face liked her because everybody else was super greedy, and they kept wanting all of his gold and stuff, and she both times he offered her the wooden token things. And then when he offered her gold and stuff, she was like, "No, that's okay. I don't need it." Just she wasn't greedy. She was a good character, and she just showed love, and I think that's why he kind of followed her around and liked her, because everybody else was just wanting something.
Well, he did like eating.
Yes.
And as she says, that she says, "I think the bathhouse is making him a monster," or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Because he was harmless once he was outside of it, and before he got in there. So
yeah.
Yeah, and when he would eat the people or the spirits, whatever, he would I guess start to look like this, take on their identity,
their traits
too.
a bit. Yeah.
Remember when he started looking like a frog
and had the frog's voice?
Yeah, and then once he took the little medicine ball thing, and threw it all up, he was, back to, I guess, his normal self. So she helped him with that too,
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was good. I thought it was a cool story. When I first started watching it, I was like, there's so much going on. What is all this? But as I got into it, I was like, no, it's actually a cute story. At one point you think No Face is a bad guy, but then you realize he's really not,
Yeah.
So it's, I like the complex storyline. Yeah.
The only thing I didn't like was the American voice of the girl.
The English dub.
Yeah, I did not like her voice.
Her voice.
It was so annoying.
It was pretty whiny. Yeah. I thought they did a good job though, because I could really I kept thinking of my neighbor, the little girl next door, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how she sounds how she's scared or nervous, and then but then she's very she gets this courage, and she's like, no, I need a job. I'm not leaving till you give me a job, kind of determination, but then she's also scared, I don't know, it definitely reminded me of an actual child though,
Yeah, so I want to say the animation in this is really great.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the things this movie in particular, and Studio Ghibli in general, are famous for. Is their animation, and a lot of the animation work in this is really good.
Wasn't it drawn by hand?
Yes, it's hand drawn.
Which is insane because there are so many characters, and a lot of the scenes have a ton of different characters in the background.
A lot of busyness.
Yes, you think that is all hand done is amazing.
And especially the scenes where there's one part where there's just this the big waterfall thing, it was whenever Haku
The
like
stench
turned.
spirit.
That the stench spirit, the big like waterfalls, like that's just crazy to think it was drawn by hand, and like each frame had to be drawn.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, I
that's
don't know what they
crazy.
animated it on.
That's amazing.
Because it's not like necessarily each frame, it might be every other frame, and it's on twos. That's animation terminology. So there's 24 frames in a second in film. So if you're, like shooting on a camera, then that does everything for you. But if you're animating, you have to like do each picture by hand. But you might do it because 24 divides, evenly into 2 or 3. You might do it so that every second or every third frame is a change. I don't know how this was done, so it might have not been literally every frame, but most of
You
them.
get the point.
It's still a ton of work.
Yes, a ton of work and very well done. I didn't know when I first watched it that it was hand drawn until you told me, and then I was like, "Whoa, that is so crazy."
But yeah, so that I think in particular No Face's animation's really good. I like everything from like when he's a big monster and he's moving around, and when he's like the little like regular No Face, and just everything about No Face is really cool.
I like his mouth.
I like the little sound he makes.
Yeah.
He eats and he eats like from his like upper chest.
Yeah. So weird. Yeah. I like that he has these like little arms sometimes.
Yeah.
Or you can see his knee like in his skinny little leg.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, a very well designed concept, a very cool character. I particularly like how he interacts with the themes. So
yeah, exactly. And I read that there was no script for this movie. Is that true?
That can't
like
be
they
right,
just
can
did
it?
it as they went along?
I
don't know. I read like
they
an
could
interview
they could have had
with,
like a criteria of what you like needed to,
Yeah, like I don't know. I thought that was kind of crazy. Like I think it was the director or somebody was. I read an interview.
There was a screenplay,
and they're like, yeah, the story. They said the story needed to write itself, so they didn't have scripting.
Oh yeah, I read that too.
And I was like, what? Yeah, I was like, what?
There was a screenplay according to Wikipedia, so
I don't know. I thought that was kind of crazy if that is the case.
I don't know. That seems, I don't know.
I mean, maybe they had the storyline developed, but not the actual words. I don't know. Like the script. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of like, that's crazy. Like that, it just kind of materializes, I don't know. Anyway, I have to dig more into that one because.
So, yeah, I'm gonna get into some themes. What'd y'all think this was about? Major themes.
This was like English class.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought it was like greed and love and,
love.
how love conquers. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, anyone else? Oh, okay. Alright, well, you're missing one.
Friendship.
I think this is like the core of the movie, which is it's about like modernization and industrialization.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, you get that too.
That it's like,
Yeah.
I think asking like what gets left behind, in the modern era. And because, there's several things that point to this. The bathhouse is this big, like, industrial, like, sort of setup. We really focus intently on the boiler room, and getting down there, you look a lot at, like, how, like, labyrinthian almost the, like, series of pipes is, and then you get the whole elevator system, and then the, like, pulley system, and, Yubaba rules it with, like, an iron fist, and she's, like, sealing people into, like, bad contracts and stealing their name.
Yes. Yes,
And then,
definitely.
Like I said the line earlier, it's like No Face's, when he's in the bathhouse, they're like, he gets all...
question.
What?
Oh wait, you finish because it's like unrelated to what you're talking
Okay.
about.
He's in the bathhouse and, he's eating people and eating all these things and, like, making a mess of everything.
Yeah.
And, he's like, and she's like, I think this place is making him bad. And so once he leaves, he's fine. And then he's, stays with Zeniba and he's, nice and helpful. And I think that's, like,
Yeah, he's
a
chill.
big pointer to it, that he's out of place in, like, the modern world.
Like, it's, like, corrupting him.
Yeah.
Like, the modernization is corrupting him, and then once he finds himself again, he's okay.
Yeah, and then, like, with Haku, or the spirit of the Kohaku River, the reason why he gets trapped there is because the river he's a spirit of got filled in, and he couldn't find his way back home. It's like, and Chihiro remembers that river as a kid.
Yes.
And I don't think it is fully into, like, oh, industrialization bad, we should all go back to living in a rural agrarian society. I think it's just trying to question, like, what gets left behind in the, like, churn of modernization.
Yeah, like what price do we pay as a human, humans,
And the world
to
around
have
us,
all
the
this
spirits.
progress? Right. The environment, and yeah, exactly. And like
the river spirit that was, all polluted.
Polluted,
that,
yeah.
yes. Once it's free of pollution, it's like everybody's okay with it, but nobody wanted to deal with it, but Chihiro, like, showed love in that she was, willing to do it, and once she put in the work, everybody was like, cool. Like, that whole thing with the pollution was like a message.
Yeah.
So what's your question?
Okay. So you know how like they had the big boat where they all like the spirits would come into like the market town thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like, are there other towns like? Because at the beginning, like her father said that they had a bunch of old amusement parks from the 90s or something that didn't like take off. So like, was all the spirit towns like other amusement parks, or like where did these like people visiting the bathhouse come from? Like were all the radish? Yeah, like
They're
did all the radish
spirits.
spirits? Yeah, but like did all like where'd they live? Like
They're the spirits of things. So, like, a radish
I kn-
spirit's just like a radish, and when it's not on duty, I guess, when it's nighttime, it comes to relax in the bathhouse.
Hang out.
but still, are there other towns?
There must
I don't know,
be.
and it's not really relevant. That's not
But
what the
I
movie's about.
thought it was relevant.
Yeah, there might be other towns. I mean, this is like a fantasy world. Of course there are other towns.
It's
And, like-
not relevant to the scope of the events preceding the movie.
And what about the other humans? Like
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because there's a ton of
There's a
pigs, it's
ton of
implied
pigs.
that, like, other people have gotten, due to their greed, turned into pigs.
Yeah. So, were her parents, like, under, like, the spell of the place, and that's why they just kept eating and eating and eating? Or did they become under the spell because they
Yeah,
kept
I think
eating?
it's I think
You know
it's
what I
meant to be
mean?
that. That's like a punishment for your actions,
yeah.
Humans aren't supposed to
Yeah,
eat that
like
food.
you're
It's
eating
not
this
meant for
food that
them.
isn't yours. Yeah.
And I wonder if like the pigs or everyone that like ate a bunch, if there's like another punishment if you were to use the bathhouse if you were a human, or because like the pig, or do they all just get turned into pigs even if they eat? Does that make sense?
Apparently, there's a ton of pigs, so I guess
Yeah, but
that's
there could be
Yeah, but,
another
like,
one.
But Lynn, yeah, like Lynn was human, right? Like,
No, Lynn was a spirit.
Oh, she was.
And why
I thought
was-
She just looked human.
Why was Sen the only human worker?
Because humans aren't supposed to be there.
I know, but I'm saying like, why? Like, never mind. You don't understand me.
Like, why was she the only human there?
No, like Haku told her to go get a job to beg for one, so he must have like known that. Never mind. I don't know what I'm saying.
He says,
Like, he was trying to keep her hidden.
Like he's had other humans.
well, so if you remember at the beginning, she was gonna disappear, so I guess that's what happens to humans. Either they
Oh,
eat the food
yeah.
and turn into pigs or disappear.
I forgot about that.
But Haku saved her, and then she had to go through her whole, the whole thing.
Yeah, and then she saved her parents.
Yep. In the end, she saved her parents and saved other
And we
people
never
too. She
got
made
to
the little
see-
baby guy nicer by befriending him.
And we never got to see her house.
I know. I wanted
No.
to see where they were going.
She saved Haku.
Yeah.
She saved No Face, although she created that problem in the first place, so.
But how?
She let him in.
She let No Face in.
She apparently wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, I know, but he would have found his way in.
I don't
right?
think so. He
Couldn't-
didn't seem
didn't
capable
he-
of going
couldn't
over the
he
bridge.
Didn't he literally go invisible at one point whenever he handed her the...
Yes,
So he could have just done that.
Yeah, he went invisible.
maybe so.
I don't know. I thought it was like a cool movie though, because it's like nothing I've ever watched before, you know?
I have not seen Disney's Alice in Wonderland, but I'm willing to bet it's somewhat similar.
No.
I mean, I saw like the old Alice
Yeah, that's
in
what I'm
Wonderland,
talking about.
like the old one.
Is it
Yeah.
similar?
And it is kind of like that. I mean, it's got similarities where, they have all these underlying themes and she becomes part of this world and,
It's
her
just like
choices
a
have
little
consequences
more,
and
it's
all
like
that
more
kind of stuff.
American though, so it's like not cool.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Well, the
but
original Alice in Wonderland
that was
is
a cool
English.
movie too.
Okay, well, still not cool.
More westernized. Yeah, no, it did kind of have some parallels to that, where like I said, you're in a different world, and
Yeah,
like
it
all
is
of this
one of those
stuff and-
types of stories.
yeah. But this was like totally like you're dealing with like, I mean, I guess it's the same in Alice in Wonderland, where you're dealing with like different kinds of creatures and stuff.
Yeah,
But that one was more like a crazy, like
yeah. I think
mayhem.
Alice in Wonderland's definitely less focused.
Yeah. It's like fantastical, but not in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like both of those, though.
So yeah, any closing thoughts?
I thought, again, it was a good movie to watch, and I never would have watched it unless you had
Yeah.
suggested it. So, it broadened my horizons there. I've heard of, like, Studio Ghibli, but I've never seen anything. So, I mean,
It makes me
I
want to watch
enjoyed it.
more films like that.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, even though everybody was like, "What is this?" I was like, "I think it's kind of
They
cool."
were just judging because
Well, there's a lot more Studio Ghibli films if you want more from that.
Yeah, we'll have to watch some more.
Yeah, I thought
Who is your favorite character?
No Face. Is there another option?
Yeah, definitely no face.
I liked
no.
the boiler room dude.
The spider guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's not actually a spider, he just had like 3 arms and like a legs like a
Because-
spider.
Honestly, he was really just like he kind of like was the saver of the whole movie because about the train ticket.
He was kind of grumpy.
Yeah.
But then he like saved
And
everybody.
also he like was the one who gave her the job in the first place to be able to, to save her parents in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Gem.
He had a heart, and he's the one who like put it forward, like, she has what you don't have, love.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
good movie, great animation, good story, so yeah, cool themes.
Yes.
Anything else to
themes.
add, Brie?
We like it.
No.
Okay.
Two
Alright, well
thumbs
then,
up.
take us out, Jen.
All right, guys, this has been Beach View, our podcast. Bree, thank you for joining us, and Bryce, as always, it's been real.
Yay!
Bye.
Bye.
Bree, say bye.